Welcome back to KarQ's Reviews Fan Edition, where we're going to take a look at your gameplay bi-weekly. The Overwatch League season 2020 ended for us, and the next season starts in 2021. So we got a lot of months of doing this. Remember to submit your replays with your in-game name and your rank to the Toronto Defiant Twitter. I'll pick one of them every 2 weeks, and we'll go from there. Make sure to keep on submitting because the replay codes actually get wiped out every patch. All right, let's get started. Today we have some Widow gameplay submitted by Geekyland on Dorado at 3400 SR High Diamond. Cheeky grapple to the right side building here to get to this high ground. That didn't work, that's fine. As you come around this corner and go for a shot on the defensive high ground that enemies usually start on, you miss it and you get slammed by ball. Nice shot there. Now, it's important on Widowmaker how you use your grapple depending on the enemy team comp. It's currently on a 12-second cooldown. Previously, when she was buffed to have it at 8 seconds, you could use it super aggressively, but now that it's at 12, you have to use it wisely considering they have Ball, which you're aware of. That being said, I don't agree with this grapple. Ball has way too much of an HP pool, you can't headshot him when he's in ball form, and it really didn't accomplish anything. You don't know if they have any other dive heroes yet, since their Tracer has been hiding, and as we play along the replay, the Tracer did end up shooting you. At higher elos, that grapple might have actually been punished. Top Tracers might drop down and get closer and one-clip you, knowing you can't reactively grapple away anymore if their ball called out to the Tracer that you used grapple. Fortunately, their Tracer is not 4400 and is only 3400, and you get the upper hand with a damage boost from Mercy that changes your body shot damage from 120 to 156. This grapple is not as bad because your Genji followed up with you and you can always drop back to low ground here. So that's fine, ball rolls away and you're going to try to help finish him off and you can't. You go for an aggressive top grapple here. I'm okay with this one, just because you guys have the clear advantage after killing a few on the kill feed that I saw, and you're going for a cheeky angle to pick another person off. As you scope in, you wait for the Roadhog, nice shot over there. So I'm assuming this grapple is to reposition. You're gonna hold this top bridge through this little window. This is a good spot. You don't need to drop from here because you know the enemy team is gonna try to recontest at the last second from the payload and the fight is gonna break out there. So no, I don't agree with you dropping back down and playing near the payload. This puts you at risk of being one blink away from Tracer and one roll away from Ball from jumping on you and cutting your sight lines, preventing you from adding meaningful value to your team. You're a sniper. You ideally want to play on a higher angle and a bit further back to see more of the team fight. And although you killed the Zen that was in your Zarya's grab, that could have also been done if you had stayed on that bridge window. A general tip for game sense and positioning for Overwatch players is to have an understanding of where team fights usually break out. When assessing how much further you had to push the payload and how early you won the previous team fight, you should assume the enemy team is going to want to recontest before the checkpoint, meaning their Ball, one of the best stallers in the game, is very likely just going to roll around the point, so don't play unnecessarily close to his pile drive range. This means the only other person on the enemy team that could jump you is Tracer, which could have happened based on where you decide to play here, but if you played back on the window, she would have had to expend multiple blinks to come all the way around here and up to the high ground, which is very unlikely, allowing you to safely sit here and be a menacing sniper threat. And look, at this angle, there was a super low enemy Ana you could have killed to make this team fight go in your favor more convincingly. Obviously, this is all in hindsight with a third-person POV, and we can see that she has 15 HP and she ends up living the entire time, heals up her enemy team, and makes it out safely. So, if you had killed that Ana, could have made this team fight go in your team's favor more convincingly, but that's okay. Eventually, you do come back up on the bridge and clean up the fight, but cleaner execution is always favorable to prevent unnecessary deaths on your team, which boosts your team's ultimate charge gains and helps your team's ultimate economy. As you grapple back up here and get that last shot onto the Tracer, your team caps the point. So let's skip over to the next team fight. So knowing that the last team fight just ended near the checkpoint, some enemies died late, so you can safely assume that a few of them got the long respawn. And I think an aggressive grapple early on here to the top of the courthouse or the far side high ground would have been a nice aggressive peek, which may have helped build momentum for your team if you successfully killed the Zen here. I'm just pointing out alternative options. In the middle of a game, there are always going to be hundreds of different options, and choosing the best one given your information is kind of tough. Right now you're choosing the lower angle, it's okay. You did get jumped by the ball, but he backed off. Nice shot onto the Zen. Almost killed the Torbjorn as well. And now that you have sights and you know where they all are, I think you should be grappling up right now. Your infra sight tells you nobody on the enemy team is on the high ground, and you can still help shoot the ball from up there. But since you stayed on the ground, you get shot by the Hanzo in exchange for the ball, burning your Mercy's res. But it's too late now. You're already playing on the low ground. Got to make those shots count. Be careful of stepping into the Torb ult, but you get the nice shot onto the Ana. Almost killed the Torb, and then the Hanzo kills you again. Just thinking back to what I said earlier, if you had gone for that early coast side angle, the enemy team would have been absolutely caught off guard if you were hitting them with the crossfire here. As you come out of spawn, you grapple to the high ground and pick off the Hanzo, and I really like this angle because it allows you to catch anyone on the underside of the courthouse. Then, carrying that initial pick of momentum, your team gets a few kills and you also get a nice snipe onto the Zen, and your team is progressing the payload. Nicely done. So now that you're up on top of the courthouse watching for the enemy team because you know they're going to recontest, you can see that their Winston jumps you. But I don't like this grapple here to the left. You can see all Winston has to do is just take a few steps and he's caught up to you. My favorite way to juke a Winston is if he uses that leap to reach you, you want to drop down to the low ground, forcing the Winston to drop down as well if he wants to chase you. The moment he drops down, you grapple back up, buying you almost like 4 seconds until Winston's next leap cooldown. That should give you and your team plenty of time to help you out or peel and turn on the Winston if needed. Regardless, you end up surviving with a sliver of health against the Winston. Your Mercy comes to the rescue. Your Genji's blading in the background, kills 2 in the enemy. Put a nice shot onto the Ana, and now you're going to grapple back up, and the momentum's already on your team's favor. Just put some shots onto the Winston and the ball, and you guys should be able to secure this no problem. Now we're going to skip ahead to the third phase as you're on the payload. Nice shot onto the Sombra and nice shot onto this Winston here. Like your aim is really good. Now I don't know about this grapple here. Their Genji gets a free dash onto you and their ball is about to slam you. Obviously your team is hanging out around the payload so you're able to get supported, but even so, I think you have an interesting habit with these grapples. Like a lot of them don't have that much meaning to it except to go for like a fancy shot. The rest of the team fight goes smoothly. The enemy team is going to come out staggered, and this is just a strong angle to pick the enemy apart one by one. Not much to say here. Nice shot onto the Lucio. You know, taking your time with the shots, cleaning up the Sombra, and your team ends up securing this checkpoint. Overall takeaway points. Number 1, when you're scope taking duels, your aim is great. It's partially the reason why you're high diamond approaching masters, but remember, aim isn't everything. The components that seem to be holding you back is that your grapple usage needs to be a bit more refined. It's a long cooldown. Recognize your threats. They had a ball Winston Tracer, and you got to use it defensively when team fights break out. That stuff goes punished the higher you climb. In the neutral or after you win a fight, you can go for those aggressive vertical shots, but other than that, dial back on those random ones. Don't waste that 12-second cooldown. Number 2, when you're scoped in a duel, like I said, your aim is great, but what would complement your aim even more is smarter positioning and angles. Remember where that team fight was at the beginning? Recognize where team fights are going to take place ahead of time and then think about the angles that can likely go uncontested, such as the example earlier on the first point bridge because the team fight is at that checkpoint, or the other example of going coast side on the second phase because you know the enemies would hang out around this corner. Hopefully that helps you. Remember, one step at a time. I'm confident you can get to mid-masters almost instantly with that kind of aim as soon as you recognize these angles and opportunities more frequently. And that's it for this week. Be sure to subscribe to the channel up here and watch the other episodes of the series bi-weekly down here.